Hi, good morning. Thank you for being here. Really excited about this discussion. We're going to jump right into it. I'm really excited to talk about what it will look like for North Texas to not only be a host city during one of the biggest events in the world, but also what it means to champion sustainability in the midst of doing that. So I'll go ahead and introduce our panelists, and I'll start with Liz Cadillo Pereira. She's on her way. We'll go ahead and move on to Jennifer Wichman with the City of Arlington. And then we'll also introduce Valerie Washington with City of Fort Worth. And as we wait for Liz to join us, I do want to talk about, as this discussion is important because as host of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, North Texas is using this moment to accelerate investments and coordination that will shape the region for decades to come. So this panel, we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to explore how Dallas and its regional partners are leveraging the biggest event in the world to advance infrastructure, transportation, sustainability and planning, and cross-jurisdictional collaboration while also championing that sustainability piece. So one of the most important or interesting things that came up for me during our pre-panel discussions was really talking about how sustainability is a lot bigger of a word than we realize. It really covers a lot of different things. So before we jump in, we will let Liz join us before we really dive into everything, but I would love to hear from both of you how you got into your roles and tell us a little bit about how your job touches on sustainability. Jennifer, can we start with you?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Jennifer Wichman. I'm a deputy city manager at the City of Arlington. I've been with the city almost 23 years, so it's been a long road. I've gotten to do a lot of different things at the city, which has been great. And we really work with sustainability in a lot of different areas. Certainly, within my career at the city, I've had a lot of things within my portfolio, including our landfill, which does a lot of exciting things, like we harvest, I always find this fascinating, we harvest the methane gas that comes out from the decaying garbage, and we pipe that into we don't do it, but we have a vendor who does it, who pipes it into the system. We do that. But everything from that to like making sure things are accessible, almost probably everything that we have an eye on has something to do with sustainability, because in cities we can't build things again and again and again. We've got to kind of build them and they need to last. And the sustainable pathway, because it's sustainable, it's more efficient, and that's what we're always striving for in local government. But I'll turn it over to Valerie. You probably have some wisdom on this as well.
Hi, I'm Valerie Washington. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been in local government for about 23 years. Some of that with City of Indianapolis, then I've been with City of Fort Worth for about 11 years now as an assistant city manager. And really in my role, I have the opportunity to have environmental services in my portfolio, and I would say that's one of my biggest touch points with sustainability. That's where we manage our solid waste, same as Jennifer, our landfill. We just started doing landfill gas and have set aside that as a new revenue source to help us with future solid waste investments. We are a diversion-based system, so we try to do everything we can to divert waste from going into the landfill. We have a brand new recycling center in City of Fort Worth that Waste Management, one of our private sector partners, has established, which is really helping us hone in more on the recycling side. I also have property management in my portfolio, which it's the facility and real estate section of city government. And we spend a lot of time looking just at energy savings, different energy programs, ways to maximize energy credits. So we spend a lot of time, I think, focusing on sustainability broadly through looking at our city infrastructure. And as Jennifer stated, when we build things, especially if we use bond funds, any taxpayer funds, we want to build those to last. So really making sure we're building in the right ways, we're using efficient codes. But that is a big, big focus of City of Fort Worth.
Awesome. Can y'all hear me? So we'll go ahead and jump right into the discussion at hand. And so as we kick off this conversation, I'd love for both of you to share with us when the last goal is won, when the crowds have all gone home. As we look back on this once-in-a-generation opportunity to host the World Cup, what will success and sustainability look like for each of you? Valerie, let's start with you.
So that's a great question. And I'd say, everyone in the room probably, I know Jennifer and I, we spent a lot of time over the last few years really getting geared up and planning. So I think success would look like One, being able to maintain service level baselines. I think that our city teams have really kind of upped the ante as we're looking at the number of visitors coming to the city. I think that we're increasing service levels, especially when it comes to litter and city cleanups and our street sweeping efforts. So I think really keeping those new baselines in place, I think we're raising the bar for visitors and for our communities. So I think success would be just maintaining those, and I think it just makes our city better continuing on in that way for our residents. I think success also looks like having a really good handle on making sure we're clean after the event. There's going to be a lot of people in and out, and we've got cleaning efforts going on now. We'll have them going on during the event. But we really want that to be seamless for our visitors and guests, and we want the city to look as pristine as it did in the beginning and the end. And I think the way our teams have situated in the strategies, that will be the case. I also think success looks like people coming to Fort Worth and enjoying the city and seeing that we have Western culture with kind of this innovative edge. So I think success would be people wanting to come back to visit and to learn more about Fort Worth.
Okay, thank you. Well, as I welcome Liz to the stage, welcome. I'll go ahead and tee the question to Jennifer. Can you tell us about what success will look like for you after this event?
For sure. So, I guess anyone who works in local government, sometimes we just want to be unnoticed, right? We want everything to go smoothly. So we really want, after the last goal is scored and the fans have left, we want them to really remember the soccer, remember the football, remember that was the part of what was terrific. And so that all the public safety and things that kept them safe and things that got them from wherever they were staying into the stadium were just seamless, and they enjoyed the ride. It was easy. They walked through nice parks on their way to the stadium. So that was really fantastic for them. I think from an infrastructure perspective, some of the things that we will carry on in the sustainability world is we have installed additional sidewalks. We have made improvements to the stadium. There have been new things that have changed, and those things will live on. So the stadium will be even more accessible as things go forward. Because one of the things we have, this World Cup is very different from when Qatar hosted it in 2022, is that all of the stadiums where, I think all, but the vast majority of the stadiums where these matches will be played were already in existence. They were already being used. And so I always like to think of that reduce, reuse, recycle sort of mantra when I'm thinking about how I use things. But this is definitely reuse. Qatar had to build or massively renovate 8 entire venues, but we're using the tools and the venues that we already have, and they're being adjusted, yes, but that even those adjustments and the building that goes into them will be in a sustainable way, like will benefit the next events that come in. So I'm really excited about the 2026 FIFA World Cup because it's really highlighting venues that we already have, we already know how to use. We really have those already, and they're not going to be built and then just be mothballed for years and years, right? They're going to be built and they're going to continue to be being used. So I think those are kind of a couple ways that we're working on sustainability for that.
Fantastic. And Liz, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. We're talking about what success will look like in terms of sustainability when this event concludes and everyone goes home. Can you tell us about that from the perspective of the City of Dallas?
Absolutely, and thank you. And please excuse me for being tardy this morning. I was at a council committee meeting and rushing to get over here. So if you work in local government, you often know that your schedule is sometimes not your own. But I certainly appreciate this opportunity for my colleagues to be here in Dallas, as well as my colleagues here at the City of Dallas. And I think that is what comes to mind when I think about what we will remember. We've done a lot of work from a regional standpoint to build an ecosystem of connectivity related to environmental sustainability specifically. The Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability is in my portfolio. And so we're broken out at the City of Dallas into pillars, and my pillar is the vibrant pillar. And within that pillar is the Office of Environmental Quality, along with Parks and Rec. I serve as the executive liaison, the library system, arts and culture, housing and homelessness and community services are all in there. And so OEQS is how we call it at the city. It really does do yeoman's work in terms of operationalizing our commitment to sustainability, to a clean environment, a healthy environment. And so they keep us honest. And they work across over 35 departments at the city. But in addition to that, they were the point department for being our lead, our point of contact for FIFA sustainability's efforts and working with the chief of sustainability, Magna Terra. And we owe so much credit to her here in the region for taking on this role and bringing us all together to ensure that we have a playbook, moving forward. So I'm sure we'll probably talk about, or it has been talked about, the sustainability playbook. But I think what we're proud of at the city, and I certainly am not the subject expert, so I want to give credit to our team at OEQS, and I have our SME here with me today, Opong Meng. Raise your hand, Opong. And he is our climate action manager, and he's been our main point for this endeavor in terms of the environmental sustainability component. And so we're building on what the city council adopted in 2020, which is our CCAP, which is our Comprehensive Environmental Quality and Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, also known as CCAP. And this month, it turned 6 years old. And so it's great to see how this plan that was adopted by our council and built by our community and informed by our environmental commissioners, et cetera, has come together to help play a pivotal role in the development of the sustainability checklist. So we're proud of that, and I hope that the work of building an ecosystem, not only within our city, but in our region, continues to last beyond the tournament.
Okay, well, great start to our discussion. We'll keep it moving. Jennifer, this one's for you. Obviously, Arlington is at the nucleus of FIFA activity in DFW. Matches will be at AT&T Stadium, Dallas Stadium, once the event comes into town. How is Arlington prioritizing sustainability as it addresses specifically safety and mobility needs?
Sure. So thanks for the question up there, because it gives us a chance to highlight just the mobility. When AT&T Stadium was first constructed, one of the main consultants that the builders and the Dallas Cowboys looked to was the Arlington Mayor's Committee on People with Disabilities. And so that committee went out there, they toured the site, they looked at plans, they, from a user's perspective, talked to the builders and talked to the team and the design team through, okay, here's how it makes sense for us to access a stadium. And so from all different perspectives, and we appreciate their work there. This event, because of the focus on human rights and accessibility, gives us another chance to look again. Okay, so we built it back in 2009. What's changed? What else have we learned? What else could we look at? And so some big improvements that we have in that area are going to be around the accessibility outside the stadium. I mentioned some of the new sidewalk segments that we're able to build, so we're working on that. There'll be additional ramps, there'll be additional access that way. So that's one of the things that I think we're proud of and kind of looking towards with this event.
Fantastic. Well, Liz, this next question is for you. Dallas has also established itself as a center of operations with the IBC, International Broadcasting Center, coming to the Kay Bailey Hutchinson, and a massive fan fest is planned for the Cotton Bowl. How is the city approaching its host duties with sustainability in mind?
Oh, thanks for the question, and very excited just to even think about what's to come in just a few weeks, short weeks. But we already have, of course, started building out the infrastructure to host media from all over the world. And so we're expecting at least 5,000 media to be at our Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center at the Convention Center. And what that looks like is getting ready for them, making sure that we have a strong presence, that our sustainability efforts are a focal point in terms of how we're setting up, and related to accessibility, related to water stations, related to sidewalks, et cetera, related to how we're designing our street setup for the games. There's conversation about street closure, so more people can enjoy walking throughout the streets without having to navigate through traffic, et cetera, et cetera. So that's exciting to see how we might be able to really invigorate the downtown ecosystem. And then, of course, the Fan Fest, which is absolutely exciting to be able to host it. And I see some young people in the back, and I hope that they're getting excited about the Fan Fest because it's for everyone. And it's at our Fair Park, which, as you know, is one of the jewels of our city is Fair Park. And it has it will be receiving what we think is up to 35,000 people on a daily basis. So our Parks and Rec team is in it, working with FIFA, to activate and make sure that there's community connections. We'll be hosting community organizations who are going to set up, and hopefully our green ambassadors will be out there because they are a part of this developing ecosystem. Is to how do we encourage our next generation of leaders to get involved in sustainability and create an ecosystem. So we have an environmental commission at the City of Dallas. We have a youth commission at the City of Dallas. And they have all been, I think, aligned around how do we make this an event for young people and all generations to get involved in at the Fan Fest. So excited about that.
Very good. Valerie, I know, yeah, please.
I'm a huge Fair Park fan. Like, I love going to the state fair there and doing all sorts of things, but I just love how now it's going to be a part, like the fan festival is going to be there, because it's like kind of like a Swiss Army knife of like all these different events that you can sort of celebrate there and have there. And I love that the additional adaptations, it's kind of like I was talking about with the AT&T Stadium before, like we just keep reusing these existing classic venues for new things. And I think that's such a unique part about what we do. It just is like a whole nother thing that we know how to do here. And it just adds one more, amazing pool that people can say like, oh, here's another reason to come to North Texas for your major event. Is it like, that's another thing.
That's right. That's exciting.
Excellent. Well, Valerie, I know Fort Worth is focused on cleanup efforts and brought the community into that work. What does that look like, and how will that continue after FIFA?
So I would say we have held and hosted and have scheduled a number of community-focused events that are centered around litter cleanup and illegal dumping. To date, the teams have cleaned up over 1,100 campsites in quarters 1 and 2. We had the Great American Cowtown Cleanup back on March 28th. And in that event, we picked up over 10 million pounds of litter, which is crazy to think that there's that much out there to pick up. We had over 3,800 volunteers. There's just a lot that needs to be done. So we've spent a lot of time in Fort Worth really focusing on those efforts and trying to bring our community in. We've set up public-facing dashboards. We are setting up community events. It's really those grassroots community events and looking at our informal community leaders and places that they gather, but really getting them excited about helping to keep the city clean. It's noticeable. And so I think that when the community is seeing noticeable changes, it's easier to get people on board and we get that excitement going. Again, we've got 3 or 4 more community-wide litter pickup events in City of Fort Worth leading up to FIFA. We have some following FIFA through the end of the calendar year just to, again, continue those efforts. We've dedicated more staff to cleaning up the city. We've invested, I think we are up to 12 street sweepers. So we have them deployed throughout the city. We have a way for community members, if they see a problem area or a problem street, they can call us and arrange for street sweepers to come into their community. So we've tried to make those really, really accessible, while also keeping up with a really dedicated plan. We've communicated that plan. We deploy in quadrants, so the community knows when the street sweepers are going to be in their area. And we just talk early and often. We also held street sweeping naming contests. So we really kind of took it to the next level and getting people excited about that. But it's really those individual community members in their communities that are willing to go out and clean up, that are willing to call us, to use the My Fort Worth app is what we have in City of Fort Worth to report problems so we can be there to engage.
Fantastic. I'm going to open this next question up to the floor, and I think this is a topic that's on everyone's mind. We've talked about mobility around the stadium. I'd love to talk about regional mobility during this event. How is this mass hosting event? Is it accelerating the build-out of DART service and non-car mobility? I'm thinking particularly of connections from DFW Airport and Love Field. Are these robust enough to move people without the need for car rentals or Uber services?
So I'll start, if that's okay. I would say it's definitely accelerated conversations. I think regionally, Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington have all been engaging in those discussions about how do we best really move around regionally. But I think our approach is that no, you don't have to rent a car. We are really trying to make it seamless for visitors and for our residents as well. But no, you don't need to rent a car. We are partnering with the regional COG, with Trinity Metro, which is our transit authority in Fort Worth, to set up rapid bus routes. We're trying to set up circulators that will help people park and then get moved to a train station to then use the train into Arlington for games. We have spent a lot of time talking to the community because traffic in our region is a sore point. So people have a lot to say about that. So we've gotten some feedback, and our community prefers the bus routes. And in fixing that, and maybe doing some rapid bus routes on the interstates to really get people where they need to be quickly without interrupting everyone else that's going to be here and need to go on with their daily lives. But with that, I'd say from the city standpoint, we're looking at making it easy for our employees, so allowing probably more work from home during that time. We do want employees to have an enjoyable experience and to still kind of get the work of the city done, but also enjoy all the festivities tied to FIFA. So I think we're trying to think of every way possible to make sure streets can be clear, and working with our partners to make sure folks don't have to rent cars. We'd really like to have less cars on the road, and we really want to encourage those bus routes and use of the train.
Yeah, so this is really one of the times when our history of working together regionally really comes into play, and we're using the same plan that we've used for the Super Bowl when it came and other major events. And FIFA, you all may already know, but if a FIFA ticket holder, they get free rides on the transit, right? So if they're in downtown Dallas, downtown Fort Worth, they just show their ticket, they can get on any one of these buses and kind of either ride the train up to Centerport, or they can take a bus direct from either the downtowns into Arlington. And it's a great thing. We don't have to build a transit system that every day will do that, because we don't have that kind of a need. But Michael Morris, our Director of Transportation at North Central Texas Council of Governments, has really been brilliant in his ability to bring these team groups together to build this event-specific transit plan. We are hoping that more of these fans, more of the visitors, more of the attendees will be taking public transit, because we have more of an international crowd and they're more used to that. Plus, there's the incentive of, hey, isn't this easy? Like, you have a ticket, you have a ride. It's terrific. There will still be folks who want to drive in and park. That's fine. We have that for existing events in AT&T Stadium, so we'll continue to use that. And I did want to share my favorite little factoid about Michael Morris and how he's planning for this is that he is really, anyone who has ever taken a ride share to an event and it's like, oh, it's $30 or whatever. And then you try to take it home and it's like $130. You're like, what happened here? That man has got your back, because he is setting up, I think we have a ride share lot, and I think maybe he himself is going to be there, because they're going to make sure everyone who comes back to that ride share lot to take their ride back, they're going to know that they can walk just basically a block west and get on a free bus to go to either downtown Dallas or downtown Fort Worth, where none of that surge pricing will be happening. So he's mentioned this in almost every meeting I've been with him on for regional transit, and so I think it's just a really good option where folks we're situating them kind of in close proximity to each other. So not only are we thinking about just how do we move massive numbers of people, but how do we do it in a way that's easy for them, not super expensive for them. Folks are already coming here. The tickets, as we all know, are going to be expensive. So let's not hassle you on the ride to or from. So looking forward to that.
I just wanted to add that I'm lucky that we have Michael Morris at North Central Texas Council of Governments, and he's done a great job of putting us all together in the room. And I know our Transportation and Public Works department has been working actively with the whole regional team. Very excited that we can use DART wherever we need to go and get to and from. But in terms of getting to the Fan Fest, there's definitely 2 DART stations that are available to us. One right at Fair Park, and the other just a couple of blocks away at Martin Luther King Center. So really relying on those transportation outlets to get our Fan Fest people to the Fan Fest back and forth. And then if they need, of course, to get to the games, taking the TRE to get there easily, find a shared parking space, a parking lot, and walk or transit over to the stadium. But it sounds like it's very well organized, and I'm looking to get on and do the adventure myself to see how it's all coming together.
Awesome. Well, very cool to hear, and thank you all for that input. Jennifer, I know in talking with the team over at City of Arlington, a lot of emphasis on the importance of Arlington's relationships in securing big events like this one. Can you connect the dots for us? How do those partnerships relate to sustainability efforts?
Sure. The fact that we have so many partners in this region that have come together on other major events is a huge help. We've got 9 matches. We have more than any other host city, right? Any other venue, we've got 9 matches. And the reason for that is that we know what we're doing, right? We're not looking past it, right? We're not like, oh, no big deal. We got this. Like, we know this is a different type of event. But the fact that we already know, all our police chiefs know each other. They've been meeting for years, basically, on this. They know each other. They work with each other. We have already have, Arlington Police, who's in charge of the stadium, and Arlington Fire. They have relationships with other departments, so they bring in folks regularly who help with traffic control and other important elements of big events at AT&T Stadium. So the fact that we have this tool, this venue, we know how to use it, we know how it reacts. We don't, unlike Qatar, who had to not only suddenly host probably a new event, but had to learn how to use its own stadium. Like, we don't have that. Like, we know how to use the stadium. We know how to use our transportation system. We know how to use Fair Park. We know how to use, every place, interesting place in downtown Fort Worth. We have all that stuff, but we need to. So we're just going to come together and use it for this. We're not, but we do. We have to acknowledge and respect this is a very different type of event that we'd have. It's a different fan base. We have these fan marches that are going to be happening. So that's new and different and exciting. So we'll figure out how that works. But I think that's probably the biggest thing that we've got going for us is that regionally, like, we are partnered, we've done this, and as our friend Michael Morris, I will drop his name again, but he's like, we get to do it 9 times, so we got to get it right. Like, we're not going to fail 9 times. Like, we're going to have an event, we're going to adjust, we're going to have it. By the 9th one, it's going to be perfection.
Showtime.
Exactly. We'll be ready to go. But anyway, so I think so regionally, like, we're all friends. We all know each other. Even, all the federal alphabet agencies, like, we know them. Our chiefs have them in their cell phone. Like, they talk regularly. They're not going to get to know each other while they're planning for this event. They already know each other, and that's just huge.
That's one of the things that came out of our discussions when it comes to the fact that sustainability is a lot bigger of a word than I think we all originally, applied to it. Sustainability is saving resources on training and familiarization because you have agencies who already work in stadiums that are already built. So
Yeah. And actually, I just thought of one more thing, if you wouldn't mind me adding. So the other thing about the regional effort here is that because, you've heard both Valerie and Liz talk about cleanups, right? We're also doing cleanups. And the fact that we have all that happening regionally, like, Megan's been talking to us for months about get a cleanup going, and I was kind of like, okay, a cleanup, but we've got this big event. But the fact that we all are talking about it and it's in the news, that even cities who they won't have a base camp, they don't have any of this, their community is thinking cleanup. And I think that regional partnership where we're messaging consistently and we're sharing these messages out, where everyone's hearing them. We have a shared news cycle, right? We have the same, channels cover all of them, all the same media outlets. So I think that's really helpful too from a regional perspective, that we're all saying the same thing, because repetition is what people need to get a message. And so as they're hearing that, they're hearing Dallas has had a cleanup, Fort Worth's had a cleanup, Arlington's going to have a cleanup. They're like, oh, I'm going to pick up in my neighborhood maybe, right? It's helping them think about that.
Yeah, well, speaking of partnerships, Valerie, I know Fort Worth has championed its own partnerships to prep for these games. Tell us how Fort Worth is addressing the city's homeless corridors.
Thank you. We are really taking a full court press in addressing our homeless corridors, and I would say we're doing that definitely with FIFA, but that's been a priority of our mayor and council for probably at least in the 10 years that I've been with the city of Fort Worth, that's been a focus. I would say that this has been an opportunity for our teams. And as you mentioned, we get to oversee and direct, but it's really our teams at the City of Fort Worth, for me, that are really putting in all of this work. We've set up multiple working groups, from a beautification work group to a transportation work group, to a hospitality work group. So we have a lot of people on the city side coordinating and working together, particularly with the homeless population. We have the police and fire department, our EMS service, our homeless services department, and our environmental services department, and really code enforcement, all working together. We're trying to take an approach where we're proactive. We want to make sure that we are following the law while also being gentle and understanding that people have different circumstances. So making sure we're not being too heavy-handed, but taking the approach where we want to guide them to service providers, and not taking a heavy-handed approach with our police department, which I appreciate. One thing that we've done to really help start cleaning up in some of our busy corridors are putting together dedicated street feeding and kind of donation locations. We have a lot of people that come into the city of Fort Worth, that live in the city of Fort Worth, that want to come in and feed the homeless, hand out tents, do good things to help. But at the same time, we also have staff that are cleaning up tents and cleaning up litter and worried about food safety. So we really wanted to find a way to meet in the middle. So we've set up a few designated locations with the city team, with some of our private partners, Presbyterian Night Shelter, Union Gospel Mission, and a private landowner who just wants to make sure that people are getting fed. To really set up hours and offer opportunities if you do want to come in and donate food or supplies, that you can do that through a structured process. We've also spent a lot of time communicating what's already going on in our homeless corridors, even without people coming in to provide support. The service organizations provide over 2,200 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So just really educating people on what we need. One of our focuses, of course, is looking for permanent supportive housing, and ensuring that we can direct people to service organizations that can help. We definitely don't want to be that city that's displacing homeless people just because we have visitors. We need to all exist together, but we are spending a lot of time on the cleanup efforts, working with that community and sharing the expectations that we have in cleanup, and where to stay and where you can camp and where you can't. So we're trying to make it a two-way conversation, but it's definitely a full court press with a little bit of gentleness kind of wrapped in there. So I think that at the targeted approach with having designated feeding locations, we hope that that will hamper down on just maybe the litter and stuff and other things that can accumulate in that corridor.
May I add to that also? And I think hats off to FIFA, really, because this was the first World Cup where cities that were competing or pitching to host were required to include a human rights plan in their pitch for the tournament. And so we've been thinking about this as cities and regions for a while now, even as we were thinking about how would we host. And so like what our sister cities are doing in other cities, we're also working with our continuum of care, Housing Forward, to ensure that we have a really prepared approach to it in a humane way. And so that human rights planning has given us that approach to how do we prepare, but how do we do it in a way that is going to emphasize human rights of all. And so the sustainability, what is it called? The playbook also has a lot of resources around shelters and communities where you can source your food and not discard it, like Austin Street, other organizations that are key players in the city of Dallas. And so it really is an intersection of the challenge, but also the opportunity to work with all of our neighbors who will be experiencing this big event.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both. Liz, I want to stay with you. As Dallas prepares to host an influx of visitors this summer, how is the city preparing to divert and manage waste? I know that's something we talked about previously.
Well, right. Well, again, leaning back to our team at the Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability, working across 18 different departments to advance our climate action plan. So they've already have this connective tissue. And so they're working with our sanitation services, right, to ensure that we have receptacles at all of our heavy traffic locations, like the Fan Fest, like the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center, where the International Broadcasting Center will be. So receptacles that will be properly labeled, right, in multiple languages, so that it's easy to turn in to discard your items, and they get to the place where they need to be, et cetera. But also we want to approach this in a way that, of course, accommodates people who speak languages from all over the world. So that's one way where we're looking to be intentional about sustainability practices.
Great. Valerie, Fort Worth has been putting in the extra effort to ensure road projects are either completed before or begun after FIFA. Pull back the curtain for us on what that management looks like.
In pulling back the curtain, I would say one of the strategies we've been focusing on is phasing, and really understanding where we can phase and chunk up projects. When we started to better understand as a city what we needed and kind of the volume of people and the number of matches and the impacts to the region, we really sat down with our Transportation and Public Works Division and Planning Division to understand what road construction projects were ongoing, what was in the pipeline, and being really, really diligent, going through with a fine-tooth comb and understanding what corridors had work going on that needed to be finished before FIFA. Where were there projects that, again, we could phase in maybe 1 and 2 and then hold while FIFA was here, and complete the phasing after. But we spent a lot of time coordinating and making sure that, again, our projects aren't going to create additional strain on the visitors and the residents, that we want it to be smooth. And I think we've said, all of us multiple times, seamless for people. So we're really looking at those projects and advancing some of them, like we've been able to accelerate. So part of that process was accelerating projects where we needed roadways to be in tip-top shape for visitors during FIFA. So we've used a couple of strategies, but really phasing has been probably our first target, and then really pushing and accelerating our contractors to get work done. Everyone understands the importance of FIFA. And so it's nice to, it's kind of a nice stick as we need it done for FIFA. We need it done. I mean, so I say we've said that on multiple occasions, and it's kind of nice to be able to have that.
Gotta leverage that while we can.
Fantastic. Well, Liz, I will pivot back to you. I know Dallas also has some exciting news about its air quality opportunities as a direct result of being a host city. What should we know about this?
Well, thank you for that question. And yeah, we're proud of it. And I saw our assistant director of OEQS back there, Paul. Raise your hand, Paul White, and he's been doing an incredible job with building up our capacity, our infrastructure, right, for being able to monitor the quality of our air. And since we are a city of 286 square miles, we're a big city. And in that way, we want our residents to be able to be empowered, to understand the sort of air that they're breathing in their different neighborhoods, and we want to make it accessible. And so as part of our CCAP planning, which 2020, and then part of our equity planning thereafter, we developed a Dallas community air monitoring program. And so that consists of several key air stations where our community members can go on our website and look to see the quality of the air. And it hasn't gone without notice. I mean, we have our regulatory air monitoring, which is not this. This is community-based. But we're also putting them for FIFA, near the Fan Fest. To be able to monitor that. We know there will be thousands and thousands and thousands of people that will be coming through that area, and with that density and with that level of high traffic, we want our neighbors to be able to see, is this changing the quality of our air in any way? And if it is, like, what interventions may we be able to, in real time or thereafter, be able to bring? So that's what our team is looking at. They're looking to see, how do we leverage this opportunity to build up our decamp program, but also it's going to be a gift of FIFA to leave us with an additional inventory to our air monitoring program. So we're grateful for that.
Before we go on, too, I would love to connect with your staff person as well and connect them to Cody Wittenberg on our team, because we have been talking a lot about air monitoring, and I'd love to lean in more into the community reporting that you're doing, because I'd say that's something we haven't leaned into as much, and so I appreciate hearing more about that.
It's fabulous. Right there, those two guys.
Connections being made from the stage. I love it. I love it.
We'd love to do that.
Jennifer, let's loop you in. Arlington is also getting a significant environmental benefit from this event. Tell us about the trees that are being planted in advance of these games.
Yeah, for sure. So this 2026 is not only the year we get to host the 9 matches for the FIFA World Cup, it's also our 150th birthday. And so we're super excited. We have pins. That's why I'm not wearing the World Cup pin, so apologies for that. But because this is also a council day for us.
We'll get you one after the panel.
Okay. Oh, I have them.
We're glad you made it.
Yeah. But we are planting an average of 150 trees a month. And so that's a really big, we've done over 70 plus in sort of some of our linear parks right by the stadium. We had a ceremony where the mayor was digging and kind of planting one there. So we're very excited. We're doing that for 150th, but also certainly for the FIFA World Cup. We're going to have a special sort of sesquicentennial tree that'll be planted downtown, larger tree than some of these smaller ones. But we're very excited. It's another opportunity to get the community involved and sort of plant more trees. We're lucky in our entertainment district to have a lot of green space and kind of working with how we help that remain natural and also tidy enough for the nice hotels we have that are nearby. It's a constant balance, but I think no one's going to argue with planting more trees for sure, and so we're glad to have that as part of our 150th celebration and also part of our being ready for the World Cup.
All right. Well, thank you all. We're coming up pretty close to time. I've got one more question for all of you to kind of share with us. We talked at the beginning of this panel about what success in sustainability will look like. My last question for you is this. We've been talking today about what it will mean for North Texas to be a host for this global event, particularly through that sustainability lens. We've talked about how preparations for this event will impact the region long after the crowds go home. And we've talked about what, that success is. My final question is, what do you hope are visitors' lasting impressions of North Texas after this World Cup concludes? Jennifer, can we start with you?
Sure. Yeah. So I think kind of going back to my answer to the first question, I want the stuff that we do not to be a problem, not have any problems with their transportation there, not have any public safety concerns or scares or incidents, so that their main memories are of the soccer matches that they came to see and really enjoying that, and hopefully their team will have won. But I think secondarily to that, I want them to remember just the Texas hospitality they've experienced, the fact that they've gotten all around this region. A lot of people have gotten super confused about it's Dallas Stadium, but it's in Arlington, and the Fan Fest is over in Dallas. So people are gonna get a crash course in geography when they get here, so they understand where all these things are. But I think if they can get here and get us, and understand it, and you've got Fort Worth where the West begins and all these super interesting places you can get around and see all this space. We have a lot to offer here in North Texas. So I hope that the folks who've come here for soccer think about coming back, whether that's for a trip with family or whether that's hey, I think my business would have a great location to go there. I think all of that's what I would really hope for.
Awesome. Valerie?
Jennifer, that was a great response. And I would say the same. We want to be welcoming. So we want everyone that comes into the region to know what a welcoming place we are. And to also recognize just the diversity and culture and the different fabrics of everything that makes up the Metroplex. I think they can enjoy games in Arlington, hang out in Dallas, at the Fan Fest, and then spend some time in Fort Worth enjoying some of the festivities in between games and some of the fan events that we'll have and just some of the culture, neighborhoods, and art that we have in the city. But I want us to be, people to see us as welcoming, again, want to come back. And I think, like I've said before, I think really this is an opportunity where we've been able to really challenge ourselves and increase our service levels and customer service, and I think continuing that into the future as a new normal.
Great new bar raised. And Liz?
Again, ditto on both of them. I just am excited as a resident of Dallas, as a local government official of Dallas, and for our next generation to be able to experience this. I personally attended the World Cup in the 90s, and I remember it was a life-changing memory. And so I'm really looking forward for the next gen to, and those people who were not here at that time, to really take it all in, because it's like no other experience. And so for our visitors from around the world who are coming, the minute they get off of the plane or however they're traveling, I hope they do see us as a community that's committed to environmental sustainability, to being clean, to being healthy, to living that practice, and then to couple that with being a welcoming and inclusive city, right? Because we know how diverse our communities are, and oftentimes when I go to other places, they don't realize how diverse our cities tend to be. With Dallas, so over 90 languages spoken in our school system. So we want to be able to share the diverse cultures that we bring through our food, through our music, through our fan fest, et cetera. But really, as an example of sustainability, I hope they go away saying, gosh, those cities are super clean. Because we've been at it. We've been, as you heard. And it's pretty competitive, but it's competitive in a great way, right? It's every mom's dream to have people cleaning up around town. So that's what I hope.
Can I get a round of applause for our panelists, please?